Gavin, I think we are on.
There we go.
Excellent. Right. Okay.
There we
So
go.
we're going to scrap that first slide that we had there. As I was explaining to everybody, we're along for the first in the series of recruitment marketing by real marketers. Now, Gavin, we know you're not a recruiter. We know you're not in recruitment. But what we want to do is we want to learn from real marketers. This was a brainwave I had while I was off on holidays, and I realized that recruitment marketers are so busy trying to reinvent the wheel when it comes to marketing, trying to figure out their own ways of building talent pipelines of people that come closer and closer to their business all the time. And what we sometimes do is we forget to learn from the people that are really involved in this day in, day out. Now, my name, as everybody knows, is Ian Hamilton. I am CEO of Recruitment Bot. We build chatbots for recruitment businesses, helping them convert people that they don't know into candidates for their business. Today we have Gavin Bell along with us. It's Gavin of Blue Cliff Media. Gavin is a Facebook ads expert and runs one of the coolest vlogs I know on YouTube. It's absolutely fantastic. So Gavin, as a way of getting started today, do you want to give us a wee bit of a background about yourself, what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. To go way back, I grew up in the Shetland Islands, which is, I don't know what sort of audience we have, whether it's US, around the world, UK here. But for those of you who don't know, it's the most northerly tip of the UK. It's a group of islands up there. There's a population of like 20,000 people, and I grew up there and lived there till I was 18. I then moved down to Manchester when I was 18 to study at a business academy with, it was called the Peter Jones Enterprise Academy. So if we've got any Dragon's Den fans in here, then Peter Jones is the guy that's kind of head of that. And I set up a business working with personal trainers and putting personal trainers into offices, corporate environments, call centers. And that kind of slowly, over a few years, when I moved back to Edinburgh, I realized that there was more value for me and personal trainers and actually helping these guys with their marketing. So I realized that personal trainers were pretty terrible at marketing themselves. If they're going after kind of the stereotypical person that just wants to lose a little bit of weight, but their Instagram is six-pack abs and broccoli and rice and chicken, they weren't really getting it right. And so I decided to go out there and help them with their social. And that slowly, again, then moved into focusing on Facebook advertising. And that's kind of where I'm at now. We work with brands across the world. We've worked with sports teams, personal brands, all the way down to kind of small chiropractic clinics. So a wide range of different audiences and industries. And then as Ian says, I launched a vlog at the end of last year, which was me kind of just documenting my life, going through the business world, a weekly vlog, uploading a video every week. And that probably about 6 months ago turned into, rather than it all being about business, being about things that I like to do in my personal time. So going hiking, exploring Scotland, just doing cool, fun stuff. And that has taken a kind of life of its own. So we went from being a shy guy that didn't like being in front of video to some of the videos have been seen over 150,000 times, which is pretty cool, and it's still growing. So that's kind of a wee bit of a background about me, and I'm looking forward to chatting to you today and to share some Facebook ads goodness.
All right, cool. That's good. Now, Gavin, I've been starting up and running my business for about 2 years now. I've dabbled in Facebook ads for my own business. I've done a lot of Facebook ads for talent attraction along the way. When you start out in Facebook ads yourself, typically you flop, right? Because you log into this platform, you're led through a click this, click that, do this, do that, technical kind of how to get an ad live on Facebook, or it might even just be a wee boost button. What sets a Facebook ads person? Why do you use a Facebook ads person? How do you think about it differently to how maybe one of us would just go on and hack our way through it?
Sure. So probably the biggest mistake that I see people making is using that boost button. I'm not saying the boost button is bad by any means, but the number one mistake is people just kind of aimlessly putting money behind random posts in the hope that by spending £20, they'll see some sort of return. And I think there's this kind of like romantic thing that people have where they feel like if they put money behind something, they almost feel like they deserve to get something back, where that's actually not the case. What you're doing when you're putting money behind something is just serving it to more people. But if fundamentally either your content or your ad sucks or you're serving it to the wrong people, your ad's never going to work regardless of how much money you put behind it. And so that, if we take that mistake of just kind of aimlessly putting money behind random posts or random adverts compared to what we would do if we were doing it properly, is we'd be saying, okay, who are we trying to get with this message? Is it 21-year-olds in Edinburgh? Is it people that like Aberdeen Football Club, whatever? Who's it that we're targeting? And then we set the campaign up in a way where it's almost impossible to fail. So rather than just saying, all right, 20 quid out to these people, we're saying, who's the audience? Or who do we think is the audience? And then let's split that audience up into different subcategories. So we might go for, I'll just take a very generic example, 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds, 23-year-olds, 24-year-olds. Serve them the same ad, and we see which audience out of those, which age group works best. And by doing that, we, rather than us making an assumption that this piece of content or this audience works, is we're testing and we're letting Facebook, we're letting the market decide whether it's working or not. And so you've got that aspect to it as well. And then again, we can go even further and say, rather than just boosting a random post, we can take people through journeys on Facebook. So we can say, why don't you come and read this blog article for free? We're not asking you to do anything. We just think it might be useful and helpful to you. Somebody lands on your website. We can then do something called retargeting, where we target the person that visited our website with another ad. And that's where we might say, download our free guide. Just give us your email address and we'll give you our guide for free. Again, we're not really asking you to do much. Then if somebody have done that, we can retarget them with another ad to say, you downloaded our guide, maybe you're interested in taking this relationship a step further. And so I think it comes down to relevancy and marketing basics, which is right message to the right person at the right time. Facebook, with the tools on Facebook, allows us to do that. And I think the majority of the time people just get that wrong. Either they're sending the wrong thing to the wrong person, and with that boost button, it's so random and there's no kind of scientific approach to it, whereby we can never really set it up in a way that we're guaranteed to win in the long run. Whereas if we're doing it properly like that, by testing different audiences, we know eventually we'll hit the sweet spot. We don't know how long it'll take to get there. We might hit it first time. It might take us 2 years, but we know eventually we'll hit it because we're going through the process of testing an assumption and then iterating upon that. Okay,
cool. So actually that kind of brings me nicely on to the kind of next step of this. So one of the things going through my everyday kind of career life at the minute, I'll be talking to companies an awful lot about using different channels for talent attraction. I talk a lot about Facebook to my clients, particularly because you can target your adverts to go to specific people rather than just putting a job advert on a job board where anybody can see it. You receive hundreds of applicants through, and only a couple of people are the ones that you would actually like to speak to. You give yourself a lot of work to do, and it becomes all pretty busy, running around in circles, rejecting people that should never have applied for the job in the first place. The biggest sort of objections I get is, I've tried it in the past, I didn't get any clicks, or I tried it in the past, I got clicks, nobody converted into applicants. Or quite often I get the Facebook ads, really? What? There's this kind of perception that Facebook ads is still this kind of almost clickbaity sort of, unofficial way of pushing spam out into somebody's Facebook feed. Now, it's so far away from that these days that that maybe actually, before I put the question to you, let me just launch a very quick poll to the group. What I want to ask is, who has used Facebook ads before? 3 options in this: yes, it was successful; yes, it didn't really work; and no, I haven't. if I can get everybody to quickly just kind of fill that in, and while they're doing that, Gavin, these sorts of objections I'm getting, I'm betting you get them all the time in your everyday as well. How do you work around those? People don't respond, cost too much, or Facebook ads really?
Totally. Just before that, I see Rob Saunders has asked the question. Do you want to leave questions to the end, or do you want to jam and get them in when they're asked?
Well, let's answer Rob Saunders one in a wee minute, because we get to that kind of area in a wee minute. Okay.
Cool.
Let's have a look at the question there. So how do we look at or avoid it costs too much, Facebook ads really, and people don't respond? How do we get around those whenever we're using these campaigns?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I totally get it. I totally understand the qualms, because Facebook's an interesting one. When you're putting money into something and you don't know whether it's going to work, and chances of you actually making it work the first time around are very slim.
Yep.
It can feel like you're just burning money and you're just totally wasting money. Whereas if you were to put it in a traditional form of advertising that everyone's used to, you kind of just feel like you're getting that return on investment, even if you are or you're not. And so it's been around for years, but still a relatively new thing for people to get their head around. And so in terms of getting buy-in over it, I've tried Facebook ads in the past and they haven't worked is probably the one I hear the most. And it goes back to the last question that you asked, which is, it's because people aren't doing it properly, really. People are just hitting that boost button. They're spending 20 quid. They're maybe doing that every week. That's then ramping up to hundreds of pounds, and they've got nothing other than Facebook telling them that their reach is a little bit higher. Mm-hmm. Whereas if we were to do it properly, like I say, everything is tracked. We're testing everything. And so we know whether or not that ad is successful. And if it's not successful, we're going, okay, why is it not successful? Are we seeing that people are clicking on the ad but aren't converting? If so, is there a problem there with the landing page or the page that we're sending people to? And we can look at Google Analytics to have a look at that. So we might find that people are clicking, they're not converting. So we have a look at Google Analytics and we find that people are going off the page after 2 seconds, or people are clicking through to another page. And if they're clicking through to another page rather than taking the action on that page, something that we might want to try do is then remove that option of them going through to the other page. So I've kind of gone off on a tangent there, but we've tried Facebook ads and they've not worked, is normally because people haven't done it properly. And then and then another reason is expectations. So yeah. Facebook advertising is an amazing tool, but it's not a golden bullet. It's essentially what you're doing is you're paying Facebook, a distribution platform, to get the message, the content, or the ad in front of more people. That's all you're doing. And if, like I said, if your content isn't the right piece of content for the people that you're sending it to, they're not going to convert. As someone scrolls through their feed on Facebook, they're probably at home or at work, wasting time, speaking to friends and family. And you, by putting an ad in their feed, are interrupting that flow of what they're doing. Yeah. And if your ad isn't compelling enough for them to go and take action on it, it's never going to work. So we've got to be mindful of the people that we're targeting, the content that we're putting to them, and the mindset that the people are in when they use Facebook, which is kind of a reason that I started to move away from the businessy marketing videos myself and more to the kind of hiking Scotland funner stuff, because I know that works so much better in Facebook, and that's the sort of stuff that gets shared. And so I think in terms of how do we get over that objections from people, I think is to sit down and really think, okay, well, who's on Facebook and what they're doing, what are they doing, and how can we use that as a way of our greater marketing puzzle, if you want to call it that. How does it relate to AdWords and our content strategy? Because if you're writing blog posts or you're creating videos, Facebook is the best way to get more eyes on it, in my opinion. Whereas if you are trying to put an ad to people and get them to buy like that, it's never going to work, because, like I said, people are speaking to friends and family, and they quite frankly don't care who you are or what you're trying to sell unless you make them care.
Yep.
I mean, the main thing is probably a content issue. But in my experience, it's just trying to explain how it can be done differently. And when it is done differently, setting that expectations of we're probably not going to hit a home run straight away, but every time we put a new ad up and we spend money, we're getting data back on what's actually working and what's not.
And I think that Gavin, is a great opportunity to come back to Rob's question, because I'm going to guess that whenever you're starting a Facebook ad campaign, you don't actually focus on the same success metric from the start. Okay, so what are the different success metrics that you'll evaluate throughout a campaign?
Cool. So let's take my videos, for example. Everyone's going to have different metrics for different things. So I'll just share some examples. The videos that I put out, the main metric that I'm looking at is shares. Are people actually sharing the video or not? If people are sharing it, great, I'll keep promoting it. If people aren't sharing it, I'll say, scrap it, cool, I'll try again next week with a better piece of content. Which is another point I just want to make as a tangent, is I think people get romantic over the pieces of content that they create. And they think, this is an amazing piece of content. It took me 12 hours. It cost me $5,000 to do. And then it flops on Facebook. And they think because they spent so much money on it, they want to keep boosting it and get more people to see it.
Yep.
Whereas what we should be doing is posting consistently and organically on Facebook, because then we let Facebook choose the best pieces of content, whether it costs you £1 or whether it costs you £100,000. And then when you find a winner, you promote that. So the ads that I've got running now are from videos that I filmed 6 months ago, not from videos that I did last week, because the 6 months ago ones are performing better. So in terms of video, what I'm looking for is shares. If we look at a conversion-based campaign, obviously the main metrics that you're looking at is how many conversions and the cost per conversion. And the way that we track that is through the Facebook pixel. We install it on our site, and Facebook allows us, that's a completely different thing that we can go to, which is a piece of code that we install on our site, and it allows us to monitor how many people are converting and taking the action that we want them to take. So that would be your main metric thing on that. If we're finding that we're not getting any conversions after we put in a campaign live, then we want to be looking at things like cost per click or click-through rate. Are people actually clicking on the ad? Because if people are clicking on the ad and not converting versus people that just aren't clicking on the ad, then we've got two different problems there that we want to look at. So if they're clicking on it, but they're not converting, like I said before, we want to look at the website, Google Analytics, to see what people are actually doing. If they're not clicking on it, then we've obviously got an issue either with the ad creative, the copy on the ad, or the people we're targeting. So that'd be another metric. If you've got a blog post that you want people to see, then your obvious metrics or success factors would be cost per click, click-through rate, because you want to drive those down to get more people on your site. But go back to that, I mean, because there's probably people there thinking, well, what's a good cost per click or what's a good cost per conversion? And that completely depends on the product or offer that you're putting out there. We've got, and another thing on that is in terms of cost per leads. Sometimes you'll find that going after the cheapest cost per lead isn't always the best. We might have two campaigns running. One is getting cost per lead of £1, one's getting a cost per lead of £10. But if the cost per lead of £10 is turning into more sales than the £1, then we want to keep that going. And again, that's what we would track with the Facebook pixel. So I think in terms of how do you determine the success of a Facebook ad is, what is your goal? What are you trying to do with that piece of content? And then what metrics can we look at, or what does Facebook allow us to look at for that goal? So click-through rate, cost per conversion, cost per view, cost per share, those different things.
Okay, cool. Great. So, and this will come back into the conversation of what we'll put in a wee minute. But I suppose one of the things that I like to think of the consideration of changing career as similar to the buyer's journey, similar to what would be a significant life-changing event buying decision. Okay, a car, a house, something that really kind of makes a difference to your life. And if a new brand, if a new car maker arrived in front of you on Facebook ads with a buy now button, you just ain't gonna bother with it. You're not gonna buy. You're not gonna do that. And I suppose this is the next stage of, so how do you create that influence in these kind of life-changing decisions whenever you're doing your marketing piece? And then let's try and tie it back into recruitment.
Cool. So, I mean, I think the main thing, the main thing now comes down to content, and is your content good? I guess the questions you'd be asking yourself, if we take the car example, is here's somebody that's purchased a car. What decision-making process have they gone through? And what do we do at the very start to get their attention? So is that a blog post? Is that a video in maybe introducing the concept or making them aware of a problem that they have that they don't actually know is a problem at that point? And then what can we do as a journey to take them from that point to being a customer? And that's the hard thing. That's the thing that we very rarely get right the first time, but it's a constant iteration process. And so let's just, an example of how we might do this is blog post, giving someone a piece of value, introducing a problem, a concept, they visit the website. Cool. Then we retarget them with something that's slightly different. So it might be, I'm trying to link this back to recruitment in terms of my examples, but a very basic one would be blog post, then a lead magnet, get someone to download something. A bit more intent, but we're still not asking them to do anything. And then the next stage might be something like a quiz or a questionnaire or a webinar or a video series. Again, taking that problem that we introduced here and just making it and buffing it up for them. And then we might ask them to take a decision. And the more intimacy, the more that person has to think about what you do, think about what they're going to do, the more challenging it is, the more intimate that we have to be with them. So we can't just put a sales page here and ask them to make a difference here. So we have to take them through this longer process. And if it's a really big thing, then we might invite them, like our call to action at the very end might be to invite them onto a phone call with us to have a chat, and then we try and sell to them there. So to link that back to recruitment, it's hard for me to give an example.
Do you want me to have a wee quick go at this, and you can drive me in the right direction, right? So if I'm thinking about a career change, right? If I'm not even thinking about a career change, more importantly, because one of the reasons that we use Facebook ads is because it opens up an audience that aren't on job boards. Okay, so it opens up an audience of what we would define as passive candidates. So they're a candidate, they are potentially right for the role, but they are passive in their actions. They're not looking for another career. So in the fact that I'm not looking for another career, I'm not investigating other companies, I'm not looking at their employer branding content, I'm not bothering with any of that, because I'm sitting at my desk, I'm doing my job, I'm busy, it's not something I'm doing, right? So the first thing that I would want to do as a recruiter or as an employer branding professional at that stage would be to very simply gain a wee bit of brand awareness with that person, okay? Which might be it could be something as simple as sharing a social responsibility article or post about how the employees of this business are supporting a charity.
Yep.
Once I've done that, I might bring them slightly further down the line and sharing how we've won an Employer of the Year award in the previous year or that year, or we've done something special to support an employee. The next stage down would be sharing, and I suppose this is where I would get extremely specific what I was doing. I would share a piece of content, probably a video of the team that relates to the person that's watching the video. So if it's a supply chain opportunities you're recruiting for and you're targeting supply chain professionals, let's give them a video of the supply chain team in their local area talking about the job that they do. Then the next stage, you might provide them a video in week 3 or week 4 of somebody that actually does a similar job to them. A quick 5-minute, these are the benefits of working with this business and these are the challenges that we see in our role. Being open, honest, having integrity. And then driving them to that conversion point of apply.
Yeah. 100% nailed it. Like, so that's a great point about at the beginning, just building awareness of the business or the brand. Let's just take something like Skyscanner, for example, where you could make a really cool video about Skyscanner. That's all you have to do, and just get people to watch it. And because it's at the very top of funnel, you want to create a piece of content that's, as I would call, like viral potential. So it's not an ad. You're not asking anyone to do anything. It's a piece of content that could be shared. It's just a good piece of social content. And the more people that as people watch that, you're effectively building an audience of people that you can then retarget to your next ad. So brand awareness video. And then, as you say, bring people further down the line from, here's a cool company, here's a cool department within a company, here's somebody that works in the department. And, oh, actually, it turns out we're looking for people for this job. If you're interested, apply for a phone call. Something along those lines, I think would be pretty awesome. And if you could do that all within video, even better. Because people never have to leave the platform.
Okay. So I suppose some of what I'm hearing from you here is really about how is video the most effective means of communicating on Facebook?
Yeah, I mean, the content comes down to quality at the end of the day. So an amazing image might perform better than a video, for example. But yeah.
Oh, Gavin, I think you've taken your headphones out there.
Can you hear me?
We've got you back now. Cool. Good.
Cool. Getting too overexcited. In terms of content types, if you can plan for video, I certainly would plan for video. I think everyone needs to start thinking about introducing a video strategy into their business.
Right. Okay.
We just let's just, like, if you think about your Facebook newsfeed, after this, go and scroll through your feed. It's all phone. It's all videos.
Well, what is the expectation of video these days? From a viewer's point of view, you know, we have had TV adverts which are hundreds of thousands of pounds in creation and hundreds of thousands of pounds in promotion. We'll have anything from that to me walking down Aberdeen Harbour with a big lorry going past, being deafened by what's going on. So in the spectrum of professional to unprofessional, what do people expect from video these days on Facebook?
It's a great question. Great question, because I think most businesses are want to create video, but I don't have the budget to hire a video production agency to do it. And again, I just ask you to go through your newsfeed yourself and look at the types of videos that are there. And the majority of them are shot on an iPhone. So I think it's probably slightly different if you're a high luxury brand and you always want to portray this high quality brand. At the same time, I think it's really refreshing if there was a high quality brand like that, and it was just the founder going, here's me, here's my day, like you do on LinkedIn. I think it's really refreshing to see that personal aspect to people. And that's what social is all about, personal, getting to know people. And so in terms of what I don't think there is any expectation, really. I think if you've got you see terribly filmed videos that do really well because they're funny. You see really high produced videos that flop because they're too polished. And people just think it's an ad if they're too polished. So I don't think there's any expectation. I think it comes back down to, is the content here really good?
Okay.
It's something that people are actually interested in. Which, let me just share a little bit of a story on that. So when I first started the vlog last year, it was pretty much a day in the life of me. I just filmed the day of my life, and the people that watched it were people that already knew me, and they enjoyed it because they wanted to see what I was up to. But nobody shared it, because why would you share someone else's life? And it was very hard to get more people into that, because why would you watch some random guy's life? As soon as I started making the videos about something else, people started watching and people started sharing, because effectively what I'm doing right now is hacking the Scotland thing, because I know people like Scotland. And I'm almost just a presenter in it. So to relate that back to recruitment, is if you're doing video and content, it's not about you at all, because people don't care and people will glaze over it. The content that you're creating should be what your audience wants to see. So who is it that you're trying to target with this piece of content or with a piece of content? What do they want to see? So it might be questions that you get asked all the time. It might be, it could be industry related news or things that are going on in the industry, but it's never, the content's never about you, because quite frankly, people don't care.
Okay, great. Right, and actually, this is bringing me to a really key point in a lot of the stuff that we talk about. So I'm going to make another comparison to what you do to a recruitment kind of theory, right? So you putting a Facebook advert out there with a £500 a day price tag in the post and across the picture, and hope that somebody's going to convert on that. They're not, because they don't believe in your product. They don't know your product. They don't know what you're about yet. Right? That was just a fictitious figure, by the way, for anybody that's watching. You putting out a recruitment advert with £59,000 a year, right? These are what I like to call extrinsic factors. So they're factors that are facts that can't be changed, right? So 59 grand a year, it's a wage, it's a salary. Hey, it means nothing to me. And I suppose this is where we maybe want to take the conversation, is about focusing on those intrinsic factors, the desires that people have. So will they have an opportunity to make an impact in the workplace? Will they get an opportunity for personal career growth? Will they fit in with the team that they're working with? Will they, all the sorts of things that a career person will want to know, kind of relates back to all of the stuff that you do as to the why you would buy from Mr. Gavin Bell. Am I making sense there?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's talk about some tactics. How first of all, let's talk, how do we build brand awareness through Facebook ads?
Sure. I mean, the easiest way is kind of the example that we gave before. Let's create a video and let's send it out to the people that we want to watch it.
Okay. Simple.
And what I want everyone to actually start thinking about here is becoming a media company, or thinking like a media company.
Yeah.
How can you ignore what you do as a brand and create what the people that you're trying to target want to see?
Okay.
And then come up with some sort of show or some sort of regular, consistent thing, like once a week, that you can create, that you post out onto your YouTube channel or your Facebook page or whatever channels it is you want to go for. And do that. Like if we can do like once a week for a year, great. We can start to see if we're getting traction with it or not. And Facebook gives us so many pieces of information. If we look at our page insights, for example, we can see how long, well, we can see things like, are people watching it? Are people sharing it? Are people engaging with it? And we can, one of the key factors or piece of data that I like to look at is, if you go into the insights in Facebook and go to videos, we can look at how the average watch time for a video on Facebook. Now, the average watch time in general for a video on Facebook is 6 seconds. So if you've got a video that's sitting at kind of 7, 15, 20 seconds, you know that your video is above average and people are paying attention to it. So they're actually watching it. And if people are paying attention to it, that's an indicator that what you're doing is working or is going well. So coming up with this like organic content strategy of, we're a media company, who's it that we're trying to target, what are they interested in, and we're going to create a show for them around that. Doesn't have to be about recruitment necessarily. It might be, might be something in there. But who's it that we're trying to target, and let's create a show around that. And let's do that like consistently, like once a week. And that, in terms of brand awareness, is the main thing for me.
Okay.
And then,
and
then I was just going to say, then when you find a winner, if you like, in a year, you might get like three of those videos do amazingly well, and for some reason they just get shared. Someone big picks it up, they share it, and you start to get thousands and thousands of views. Then what you want to do is boost those posts out. So rather than just choosing random posts, and one of the things that a lot of people like to do, sorry, I'm getting excited. One of the things a lot of people like to do is boost the posts that aren't doing well because they think they're not doing well. So I'm going to boost them because it looks bad that we've only had 3 likes. Whereas what we should be doing with our boosting or our promoting is promoting the ones that are working really well, because we want more people to see them, because we know people are watching them and sharing it. So we need to get that out to as many people as possible. If a piece of content has failed and hasn't done really well, scrap it, learn from it, and do something different. But don't try and boost it because it's not working, because you'll end up just spending a fortune for no return.
Okay. So that sequence of videos throughout a year, one a week, one a month, whatever it might be, could be something as easy as creating a show around the people that work in your business and what they do outside of work. Totally. Just trying to tie that work-life balance in. Nothing really specifically about a career or about the opportunities in the company, but just getting that affinity with, oh, look at the team that works there. They're fun, they're happy, they're happening, and trying to do a bit of brand affinity around that sort of thing. And you're saying your key metric just to decide success on a campaign like that would be length of video view.
Yes, certainly one of them, to see how long are people actually watching that video.
Yeah,
if they're watching
you're not necessarily expecting candidates, you're not expecting major conversions, you're doing awareness, you're doing affinity, you're doing follower building.
100%, and the more you do that, you grow your page, you grow your audience, and you grow a number of people that are watching your videos that you can then retarget if you've got an offer that you want to hit them with. It's kind of, if anyone's familiar with Gary Vaynerchuk, it's the whole like jab, 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 right hook philosophy of content, providing a ton of value. And then when we've got that right hook, when we want to hit them with something that's like, come and take this action now, we can do that without actually posting. We can do that with an advert and say, retarget everyone that's watched the video to say, come and take this action. So,
right, okay. So that's an interesting one, actually. So if we start thinking about using retargeting as a tactic, so having the understanding that a certain group of people have watched a video for a certain amount of time and they're doing a certain amount of interaction already with your brand and your page, you can then start retargeting them to move them further down that kind of funnel.
Yeah, 100%. So there's things on Facebook called custom audiences. I would imagine that the majority of people watching this, if they've dabbled in Facebook advertising, have either hit the boost button and boosted to people that like their page and their friends, or have chosen based on interests. So people that are interested in X and live in Y. The more powerful aspect of Facebook advertising is in a thing called custom audiences, which is essentially a way of targeting or serving ads to people that have already had a touch of your brand. And to give you an example of some of those that are available is we can upload an email list and target people on that email list with an ad. We can retarget people that have visited our website or visited specific pages on our site. So let's say a recruitment example is somebody last year, or we can't do last year, it's 180 days. Someone 3 months ago looked at a page for a job that is similar to one that we're trying to find a role for now. We can retarget people that visited that page to this new one. Some more custom audiences are people that have engaged with your Facebook page. That can just be any engagement, liking the page, watching a video, liking a video. We can target people that have watched a certain percentage of videos, and that can be a singular video, or that can be a number of videos put together. And then if you've got an Instagram business account, we can target people that have engaged with our Instagram page, watch our Instagram videos. So these are all audiences of people that have already had a touch of our brand. And what we are trying to do, if we're ever working with someone, is to build those audiences of people. So more people on the email list, more people visiting the website, more people watching videos. And the only way we do that is through content. And the reason we're doing that is because the people in those groups are much more likely to take the action that we want them to take when we retarget them, because they know who we are. Hopefully they trust us, they understand our brand, etc.
Okay, cool. You can see we've got another question in here. Can you demystify some of the Facebook insights, reach, clicks, and actions?
Not 100% sure what you mean by that, Rob.
Rob, if you want to, if you can, Rob, maybe put another question in there. If you can give me a wee bit more information around what what you mean by that, that would be great. While Rob's doing that, so the journey that we're starting to plan out here for people. So first video being somebody outside of work talking about, kind of showing work-life balance or being brand, retargeting the viewers of that video and bringing them through to maybe a video with the same person, doing an interview on the benefits and challenges of working in the workplace. We're starting to show one person, the next person, or the same person in the next advert. Hopefully going to start getting a wee bit of familiarity and a wee bit of engagement across the two. Then into the next stage. So you probably want to have one more thing in that funnel. But how do we know when somebody's ready to convert? So is that something we know immediately? Is it over time?
Yeah, I mean, short answer to that is we don't. And that's why we want to test different things. So Rebecca's just asked a good question. I'll come to that in a minute.
Okay.
We don't really know. We don't really know, and that's why we want to test different things. And I think the more important, the thing to realize is the higher the ask that you've got for someone, the longer it generally takes. And the more warming up, the more effort we need to put into it. The great thing about Facebook ads is let's just take a very, very basic example of somebody downloads something for free, then we offer them something to buy. We could, in the same campaign, test going straight to the buy. We could test going to the free thing and then to the thing to buy. We could test going to the free thing and then rather than retargeting them to the thing to buy, we could send them an email. So we could test all these things and see which ones work best. There's no right or wrong answer to that. Sometimes you'll find, we found, just examples before that, for example, Ian, your ads would perform completely different to my ads based on previous ad data. Have we ran campaigns before? How well have they performed? Yes, good or bad. Your audience that you're trying to target is different to my audience. They're getting served with different ads. So I wish there was a right or wrong answer, but there's not. It's just a case of the only assumption we ever make is before we put our first campaign live. So we have this end goal. We make an assumption on what journey do we think people need to go through in order to be ready to buy it then. We build that, we create it, we try it, and once we've tried it, if it works, hell, great, let's put more money into it. If it doesn't work, then we go, okay, so we were finding that people were going to the blog post, but they weren't downloading the lead magnet. So there's something going on there. Let's try fix that. We try again, and we fix that, and okay, it's starting to work now. People are downloading the lead magnet, but they're not buying. Okay, so there's something in there that we need to do. Maybe they're not warmed up enough, so let's try and give them something else for free before we ask them to buy. So it's a long process, but the thing with this is don't expect results overnight. But if you do get your Facebook ads working really well, like they can literally change your business. We've got clients that are sitting on like 7-8 times return on ad spend consistently. So they know for every £1 they put in, they're getting £7-8 back. And so our goal is essentially just to put more, to get as much money going through that system as possible. And so when you do have it working and you do have it solid like that, then it can be a game changer. To go to Rebecca's question, are there better times of day, a week to post content? I personally post my videos if I can on a Monday evening. No real reason for that, to be honest. Just it felt good for me. It felt like I was able to then edit my videos over the weekend and upload them on a Monday. So I would say don't get too hung up on it. If you go into your Facebook page and go to your insights and then go down to posts, I think on the left-hand side, Facebook will give you metrics on when your audience and your fans are online, and you can have a look at what day and what time is best. Now, like for example, my best time to post is something like a Friday evening, but I post on a Monday evening just because that works better for me. I don't think, have a look at it, but don't get too caught up in it, because what you'll find is this is another main point, is Facebook's goal is to have as many people on the platform as possible, spending as much time on the platform as possible. Yeah. That's all they want. Like you spend on average like an hour a day on Facebook. Facebook wants the other 23 hours of your day, essentially. If you can create a piece of content that keeps people on the Facebook platform, Facebook is going to show that to as many people as possible because it knows it's keeping people on the platform for longer. Side note, they want people on the platform for longer because it means more ad revenue and more attention. So if you can create content that keeps people on the platform for longer, it doesn't really matter if you post it Monday morning, Tuesday evening, because Facebook and the algorithm will just show it to people when it does. But have a look at your insights, have a look at that, see what's going on. And then on the contrary to that, if you're creating content that's rubbish and is getting people off the platform, Facebook's going to show it to nobody. And so when I hear people complaining about the algorithm and the lack of reach, the answer to that is probably your content sucks, or it's not good enough for a Facebook environment.
Okay, cool. So that's a really key thing. And folks, this is the same on Facebook as it is on LinkedIn. If you drive traffic away from the platform that you're paying or the platform that you're posting on, that platform isn't going to like you. So the best way to keep people viewing your stuff is to allow them to stay on that platform for as long as possible. So Facebook, that might look like a video. On LinkedIn, it might be a long form blog article. It might be a video on LinkedIn. Any of these things will extend your reach. But I'm assuming that also if you're sponsoring these adverts, it kind of makes that time of day a little less relevant because you're paying to put it in front of people. And so Facebook's going to show it to them anyway. Okay, cool. So one really interesting thing that you talked about there is you've got some clients that are making 8 times return on their investment. That's a great metric for sales, a great metric for marketing. One of the things that I'm really interested in is, can you convert that into recruitment, do you think? Where you can say, I know for every £10 I put in, I receive within a month period of working them through my pipeline, I will receive 3 candidates, and they'll be good candidates and they'll be warm and want to work for me. Could you actually get to the stage where you know that, so that in 6 months' time, if you're having to hire twice as many people, you just double your ad spend?
Yeah. So in the recruitment world, what's important to know here is, it's even if there's not a monetary thing involved, I think it's important to have a goal on how much you're willing to spend per sale or per hire or application, because then you've got a base on which you can determine your campaigns and how well they're performing. Now, we've ran recruitment campaigns in the past where we're getting applicants for £10. That client specifically there was very, very happy. That for some other recruitment agencies, they might not be very happy with that, I'm not sure. So it's important to have that figure and understand how that plays. But to answer your question, I would like to say yes, but in reality, you probably find that unless you've got a campaign that you can set up and leave running forever, you're probably unlikely to be able to go, okay, it worked this month, in 6 months' time, let's do it and we'll get the same results. For a variety of reasons, being such as Facebook's kind of machine, the way that it works is it gets smarter the more you spend money, because it finds the right people to convert. So if you've got an audience of 1 million people, it's going out into that 1 million people, finding groups of those people and trying to find the groups that perform the best or convert the most. If you then switch that off and don't run it for 5 months and then try switch it on again in 6 months, Facebook's essentially starting from scratch.
Yeah.
So that's one reason. Another reason is just things like you might have more advertisers trying to get to the people that you're after, which means your costs go up. I don't know, the economy might crash, which means less people are advertising, or there's more competition, whatever. There's a variety of different reasons that would suggest that might not work.
So is part of what you're saying there, the running an evergreen campaign would actually give you more reliable a more reliable outlook on what you should expect from it over a period of time. So there's plenty of companies that always are hiring for the same type of people. So is an evergreen campaign going to be easier to, if you're going off to your financial director saying, I want budget to spend £3,000 a month on Facebook advertising, and out of the statistics, what we're seeing, this is what we should see out of it.
Yeah, if you
can
get
it easy to do the evergreen.
100%. If you get an evergreen campaign, that's great in a number of ways. Facebook gets smarter, finds more people. You are running that campaign for longer, so you can then determine what's working and what's not working and make the changes over time. The longer you run a campaign, generally, you start to see a decrease in cost per lead or cost per acquisition. Unless you start, I don't want to go too technical, unless you start reaching people, you've got a small audience and you're hammering them so many times that they just get bored of the ad. So if you can go evergreen, great. If you can't, then what I'd probably be looking to do is thinking more about the process. So let's make an assumption for this job, and we're going to try this. We're going to try 4 different audiences, spend 20 quid, and we're going to try these 4 images, for example. If that process works, then we can say, okay, well, we know that process or that type of campaign worked for this job. Let's try it for this next job, for this next job, for this next job. So everything you're doing is always, regardless if it works or not, is always giving you data, and you're learning that it worked or it didn't work. If you can try and find, the hard thing is trying to find out why it worked or why it didn't work. So even if you aren't running an evergreen thing, you're still getting data, and that should still hopefully help you in the long run.
Okay, cool. Listen, we are 5 minutes out. Is there anything that you think is really relevant that you can cover quickly that we haven't touched upon so far?
2 things I would be saying is, after this call, think about who is it you're trying to target, what kind of content can you create to give them, and then just start creating. Please just start creating something, even if it sucks. Go look at my videos now compared to when they first started. Just start and look at any of your favorite YouTubers when they first started. Their videos are horrible. That'd be the first thing, please. The second thing would be get what's called the Facebook Pixel installed on your website now. Even if you're not planning to advertise, you're not planning to use it, read up on the Pixel. It's a piece of code that goes on your site and allows you to track people that visited your website, so you can retarget them. It allows Facebook to track your ads. So is it working? Is it not? And it allows Facebook to get smarter when you're advertising, because they can see the types of people that are on your site and then want to serve more ads to people like that. The stores the data for 180 days. You don't get to see who's in that. For example, you just get to see that there's 1,000 people that visited your website in the last month or whatever. So even if you're not planning to use it, you've got that data there for if you ever do run a campaign, you can tap into those guys, and retargeting your website audience is always one of the best options to do. Literally takes like 5 minutes. If you type in how to install Facebook Pixel, Gavin Bell on YouTube, then there's a short, quick tutorial to show you how to do that.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Cool. So again, on the Facebook Pixel, so look up Gavin's video, jump on to peopletraction.co.uk. Within the resources, there's a Facebook Pixel for Recruitment ebook. There's also a LinkedIn Insights Pixel for Recruitment ebook. Both of those give you a bit of an idea of why you would install it and what you can do with it. LinkedIn's ones are actually really cool because they give you insights based upon, 1,000 people visited this page. The top 3 companies that they work for are this company A, B, and C. The top 3 roles they work on are A, B, and C. So you can actually start to see are the right people visiting your website or are the wrong people visiting your website. So those pixels being installed on your website are absolutely key. Also, if you can install them on your applicant tracking system, you can see how many people reach the advert, how many people reach the login page, how many people reach the first questions, second questions, third questions. If you use an applicant tracking system like Oracle, there's probably 6 different pages to your application process, and you'll be able to start to see when people are dropping off and how many are dropping off. And the frustration of many recruiters is, I can't prove this business case to get a better applicant tracking system or a better career site. So those pixels, by pulling the data from those, you can actually go back to your business leaders with statistics around how many people visit your site, who they are, when they drop off, why they're dropping off, and you can say, if we make this investment of X, we will see a return of Y because so many people won't drop off, meaning that we'll make our money back. So you can start to build really, really solid business cases out of this. Gavin, you run a Facebook ads training program. Yep. I listened to your Entrepreneur on Fire podcast. You mentioned the program that you were just launching. Where can people find it?
Yeah, if you go to mrgavinbell.com/amplify, or just go to mrgavinbell.com, you'll see it there. It's essentially a program I built to help the businesses that know that they should be running Facebook ads but don't know how to do it. It's kind of like a walkthrough from the very, very, very basics all the way to being able to set up your first kind of funnels like we've spoken about in the call today. Okay. So taking it from that aimlessly, blindly boosting post to like campaigns that are set up to get real results.
All right, cool. Gavin, I could talk on all day about this stuff. I could learn from you all day about this stuff, but we have hit the top of the hour. We had better let these lovely folk get back to work on a Friday afternoon or get off to the pub if they're smart. So thank you very much for your time, Gavin. And yeah, we'll maybe follow up with another one in the near future.
Amazing. Thanks everyone for listening. It's been a pleasure, Ian.
All right. Cheers, guys. Bye now.